Okay, good evening. So today we are going to discuss two concepts. First concept is basically the cooperating processes, and second is CPU scheduling. So CPU scheduling is very important as far as placement process is concerned. Sometimes they ask questions, and it is very easy to we will discuss, and we will take numericals on also on this. Just 1 second. Revenue. I share my screen. So in the last lecture, we were discussing about the processes. What is the difference between a program and a process? How the processes can be created with the help of a system call. We discussed parent process and child process. Basically, process can be of two types. One is independent processes and cooperative processes. So independent processes are those, suppose I have two processes P1 and P2, which are not able to affect each other. These processes are known as independent processes, right? Whereas the cooperating processes can affect and be affected by each other by the execution of another process. So most of the time we are interested in cooperative processes because of there are certain advantages of having process cooperation. First one is information sharing. Second is computational speed up. Third is modularity. Fourth is convenience. Because of these four advantages, generally we divide our task into various processes, say P1, P2, P3, P4. We have a big task. We divide that into multiple processes and these cooperate with each other in order to complete a task. So one classical example of this cooperative process is a producer and consumer problem. Basically what happens, there is a producer process, there is a consumer process, and in the middle we have a buffer. Producer is producing something and consumer is consuming the same thing being produced by the producer, right? So in the middle there is a buffer. Producer is producing the item and putting it into the buffer, and consumer is consuming the item from the buffer. Now there are three versions of this basically producer consumer problem. First one is no buffer. Second is bounded buffer, and third is unbounded buffer. In no buffer category, the capacity of the buffer is 0. Producer will directly produce and consumer will directly consume. But what happens, there may be a difference of speed. Producer may be first or consumer may be first. Am I audible to all of you?
Yes, sir.
My screen is visible? Okay. So in no buffer, there is this buffer is literally doesn't exist, and or we can say the buffer, the capacity of the buffer is 0, right? But in that case, the problem may be in the synchronization. Suppose producer is very fast and it produces 2 items, but consumer is not able to consume. So those items will be lost. So then we have two bounded buffer problem where the buffer size count is equal to n. That means the buffer is able to store n items. Okay. When this n items are there and producer is trying to produce, the buffer will be full, but consumer will be consuming out of this. Third possibility is unbounded buffer, where the literally the capacity of the buffer is unbounded, that is infinite, and we need not to worry that whether my buffer will be full or not. Okay, so this is a classical example of cooperative processes because both the producer and consumer are cooperating with each other, and close cooperation is required. So one way of cooperation, as I told you, there are two methods of process communication, because cooperation के लिए communication होना बहुत जरूरी है. All of you will agree with this. So one was shared memory, and second was message passing. So here, because I told you that this message passing is generally used in distributed systems where there is no shared memory, where we can access both the processes can access. But here I am talking about a single process system. तो हम शेयर डेटा की बात करते हैं, तो ये जो प्रोड्यूसर कंज्यूमर के बीच में ये बफर है, दिस इज बीइंग शेयर्ड बाय बोथ द प्रोसेसेस. ओके, तो दिस इज माय शेयर डेटा. शेयर डेटा की एक स्ट्रक्चर हमने डिफाइन की. We defined the structure of the share. This is the size of the buffer. We are talking about the bounded buffer problem. Then there can be multiple elements. इस स्ट्रक्चर के अंदर कुछ भी एलिमेंट्स हो सकते हैं. मान लिया आप स्टूडेंट का डेटाबेस जनरेट कर रहे हो, बुक्स का डेटाबेस जनरेट कर रहे हो, whatever is this, the items will be there. This will be a structure of type item. Then we create an array.